Testing, testing. All right, so welcome to our Science Research Academy night. I'm Paul Gazzone. I am the high school principal here. I am proudly on my 6th year here. It's been an awesome experience. And just so you guys all know, I know we don't need a mic, but we kind of do only because we are live streaming this, and if we don't speak into a mic, the recording at home won't catch up, won't hear our voices. And so this will be available online for you to review, should you want to, starting at the end of the tonight. And we'll also send out a link to the live stream and a follow-up communication from Ms. Gill, who is our Director of Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math. So this is a program that I'm really excited about. When I first started here 6 years ago, we had about like 8 students altogether, 9 through 12, in our high school science research program. It wasn't very robust. We had some very talented kids, students, and they did some amazing work, but we didn't have necessarily the facilities and the resources to kind of give them the same playing field that other schools had. We also wanted to build out our science research program to really create like a 4-year pathway. So we had some opportunities a couple of years ago with a grant we had where we were able to sink our money into a new science research lab. We went out and we got we didn't start our research program with a brand new teacher. We went out and we found Ms. Clark. So she's been doing science research for about how many years? 14 years, yeah, so we kind of went out and poached her, right? Sorry, but we wanted her. And she's been doing great. So we currently have 3 cohorts in the academy. Next year, I'm proud to say that we'll be a full go. We'll have 4 cohorts in the Wantagh High School Science Research Academy. So like I said, a couple of years back, when I first got here, we had about 8 students, 9 through 12, in the science research program. Currently this year, with 3 grade levels, we have 60 students in our science research program, and we're on track to exceed 80 next year, which if you told me 6 years ago that we're going to have 80 students in our science research program here at Wantagh High School, I would say you're nuts. But we're here and we're thrilled. We're so happy to see everybody. I know you're going to be excited by tonight's presentation. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Ms. Clark.
Good evening, everybody. So the goal of the science research...
And just so everyone knows, we'll leave some time for questions at the end of the presentation. Okay, sorry.
Thanks. So the goal of the science research program is really to be able to give kids the space that they need in order to develop a lot of skills that are necessary in research that aren't part of your standard high school curriculum. It gives them the space to also conduct novel science research within the school classroom and then also engage with the scientific community in a variety of different ways. So we do have a brand new dedicated lab space. We opened almost about a year ago now. It was back in February, but now this is the full year, or the first full year where we've been in the classroom the entire time, and it's made a huge difference. It's really nice because this space is for science research and for science research only, and they'll be in that space the entire 4 years that they'll be in the program. We have space where we have desks where students can work, and then we also have separated lab benches, and then in the back we also have a chemical fume hood and a biological cabinet that's a class 2 workspace. So the way that it starts, freshmen coming into the program take foundations of research and statistics. That's an everyday class, and that's where they're going to get the basic skills that they need to do research. It's going to expose them to a wide variety of different topics within it, so to kind of give them a taste of everything. A lot of students think that, oh, like I definitely want to do this, but there's so much they haven't heard of yet, so trying to give them the ability to see everything to really make informed choices about what they want to research. And we also have a statistics teacher who pushes in every other day with us to help support the statistics component of it, so that way when they collect data, they know what to do with it, and when they're looking at data that's been analyzed in research studies, they're understanding exactly what's being presented to them. Sophomore year, we then have every other day. It's advanced science research, and then from sophomore year, they move junior year into either AP research or college research, and that's determined by the English class that they take as a sophomore. And there's really, the difference is the name, but it's not going to decrease the quality of the research that they do in either of those classes. And then they come back together again for senior year in senior science research. The way that we're looking for students for the entrance criteria into the program, we look at the attendance because you need to be present in order to be making sure that you're hitting all those skills that you need. So that's 10% of the component. 20% comes from a logic and reasoning assessment that will be given to students who are interested in coming into the Science Research Academy. The midterms that they take for science and math, that ends up being 30% of the calculated score, and then the quarter grades that they get for science and math classes for quarter 1 and quarter 2 in 8th grade. So we've done, starting out, we do a bunch of research symposia, so that way students have the ability to share their work and communicate with the scientific community. Our freshmen start through a program at Brookhaven National Lab. So last year they learned Python and they code microsensors, so that way they can collect data to answer a research question, and then at the end of the year we got invited out so they can share their work at a symposium that was at Brookhaven National Lab. And there was a couple different schools there doing similar programs, and they got to meet with those students and see exactly what they did, share their work. And some of the research scientists that work out there also came to the symposium. So it was a nice event for them. And then this year's freshmen will be going back again. We have 2 juniors here tonight, or we have 3 juniors total, but 2 of them want to share their experiences that they went through with Barcode Long Island, which is a program that's run through Cold Spring Harbor Labs in Cold Spring Harbor. So we have Kara and Lauren.
Hi, I'm Kara. So one of the really great things about this class is that it allows you to present to a group that's like larger than a class. So last year we were able to present at Barcode Long Island Symposium, and this was really focused on like biodiversity on Long Island. So we worked in small groups to focus on mainly like insects and invertebrates and present on our findings.
Yeah, so our group specifically looked at pill bugs in a nearby forest. You might pass it on the way home. And I think Barcode's a really good example of the breadth of experience that you get in the research program, because our project involved going into the woods in the evening and catching bugs. So if you saw 2 girls digging on the side of Wantagh Parkway last year, that was us. But at the same time, we got to go to the symposium and interact with real scientists and discuss our work in a formal way. So yeah, you get both sides of that, where you have fun, but you also get to see what real research is like.
Thank you. We don't just, it's fun to share, but it's Wantagh, we like to compete. So we start with competitions, right, as freshmen. One of the ones that we do with our freshmen is the Toshiba Explorer Vision competition, which we actually Veronica and Kara were not in the same group, no. But they both were honorable mentions for Toshiba when they were freshmen, when they did it, and want to share their thoughts about Toshiba and their projects with you.
Hi, I'm Veronica. So basically, Toshiba Explorer Vision is a national competition in which students are asked to basically come up with an idea for a technology that can solve like a real world problem. So for example, my group proposed a creation of a medical robot that could detect the pre-symptoms of heart attacks and strokes. And once coming up with this idea, my group was then supposed to write a project proposal, which was cool because it mimicked like the style that actual scientists use within their project proposals, like for their own research papers. And from there, we had to submit the proposal to the contest. And from there, there's different tiers of winners for the contest. And as mentioned before, my group got an honorable mention. And I'm pretty sure honorable mentions are, when you get an honorable mention, you're out of like the top 500 like entries in the entire country, which looks really great for colleges, and it makes you stand out on the college resume.
So my group was one of the others that received an honorable mention, and we also wanted to focus on expanding access to healthcare. So our invention was to rehydrate vaccines so that they could be shipped to foreign countries that might not have the same access to medicine that we do.
It's a super fun project. It's a good way to start them out because it's not really time dependent, money dependent, so they can kind of propose something that's wild and then they have to dig through the science to find the support for it. So it's a nice way to start out. We currently have many freshmen. I think we have 10 freshman teams this year that are working on it. So excited to see what they do. As they move through the years and get older and they start to do their own individual research projects, we start to take them to different competitions on Long Island. So we went to LICEF last year with one of our seniors. She ended up coming in 3rd place for animal science at LICEF, and she won a bunch of other awards for it as well. I think she won, there was a Genius Olympiad award. She won an award from the US Air Force. And I feel like I'm forgetting. Oh, we also then went to the Long Island Science Congress, and we had one student who won for the chemistry division, and then went on to compete in states. And then the same student here, Evelyn, also won an award at LISC as well. So there's a lot of opportunities for students to show off what they're doing, compete with other students, and get rewarded for it as well. We have a lot of hands-on experiences built into the course. So like I said before, the students that presented at Brookhaven, they did it through scientific computing. So we teach them Python starting freshman year, and then we have a bunch of microcontrollers and sensors in the classroom that we can use that will detect a wide array of different things, so they can use that as tools to collect data and analyze it in the way that they see fit. We also have oyster reefs that are set up behind Mandalay. That's the creek behind Mandalay, so we've gone in the past to monitor them. The town of Hempstead did that in partnership with the school, and then we've gone back, we've helped install more reefs, and then checked up on the health of the reefs that are currently there. So that's a fun project to take kids into the creek and examine the oyster health. We take the freshmen annually on a field trip to Jones Beach. Veronica wants to share her Jones Beach experiences.
Hi again. So we did a field trip freshman year where we went to Jones Beach, specifically the Energy and Nature Center. And at this Energy and Nature Center, we basically did an interactive hands-on experience in which we learned about different renewable energy techniques and how they are have been successfully reducing the need for fossil fuels and creating a more safe environment. And additionally, when we were at the Conservation Center, we also did a activity that was like architecture based, in which we basically took the models of buildings and we modified them in order to make them more environmentally friendly through the use of green infrastructure. And following that, we actually went down to like the ocean, as you can see in that picture there. And this field trip was definitely like the highlight of freshman year. And I'm not just saying that because we like got to go to the beach and take like cute pictures. This field trip specifically like sparked an interest that like I am currently doing my own research project within, and that would be like environmental science and like green infrastructure. So it was really cool to like get that hands-on freshman year, early in my high school years.
Yeah, sadly for the second group of kids, it poured rain the day that we went, so they don't have any nice beach pictures. But it's a fun trip, and it's nice because it's here in Wantagh, so it's local. If you haven't been, go, it's free. It's fun, they have nice exhibits there. But yeah, we do a lot of stuff in class as well to help teach skills. So if we want to learn about polymer chemistry, we make some bouncy balls and test it out. And they don't realize they're learning, it's an accident, I trick them. We do linear regressions statistically by throwing Barbies off of railings and they go bungee jumping, so that way they can predict how many rubber bands should we add so that Barbie has an extreme adventure but doesn't crack her head open on the bottom. So it's a lot of hands-on activities that we share with them, especially freshman year, to make sure that they're getting the skills that they need, learning experimental design, but they're having fun with it. We also, because this, I know the process, but I don't know all of the things. So we have a lot of outside experience that we'll pull in to help us out. We have regularly had class speakers come in. The past 2 years, we've had both Al Delambo, who's a Wantagh resident, and Joni Sebastiano, who is the daughter of one of our biology teachers here, come and speak. Al's a retired air traffic controller, but he does research now with MIT to help improve air traffic safety. And Joni will hopefully, by the time she comes back, it may be Dr. Sebastiano, and she shares the work that she does with her oncology research with the students. And we have 2 more people lined up this year that are gonna join us and share their expertise. Our students also have started finding outside mentors. So one of them has started to work with Dr. Desiree Dijonou from East Texas A&M University. He's an expert in hydroponics. That's what his research is in, and that's what she's currently doing for her research as well. So they're starting to make connections. Hopefully we're gonna bring somebody else on board very shortly, but I don't wanna say it out loud to jinx it. And this is also connected with a few external programs. So in the long term, it is part of the AP Capstone program, so that way students who are interested in doing that can still take AP Research and get that capstone diploma if that's something that is, you know, in their plan. And we also are associated with the University of Albany, so they can get up to 12 college credits starting the summer between sophomore and junior year. And then through there. But the University of Albany mandates that they must have a mentor in order to receive those credits. So that's their requirement. So moving forward, we'll still have time for questions at the end. If you are interested in your child being part of the Science Research Academy, or if you are a child here who wants to join, there will be a Parent Square post that's sent out at the end of January from Ms. Gill for a parent interest form, so that way you can sign up and say, yes, I'm interested into having my child in the program. In early February, they're gonna get polled at the end of the day to take that logic and reasoning test, and then after we get the results from that, mid to late February, depending where breaks fall in the school year, you'll be notified of whether they are in the Science Research Academy for next year, and then it will go into their schedules. But ultimately, science research is just about kids having fun. It's just another place where they have a space to do what matters to them, and we have a lot of fun. So, any questions? Yeah.
How does this impact your schedule as far as electives or structure of your day?
I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Guzman.
Yes, I'll answer. Yeah, so there's always like a couple questions that I know that will come up. That's one of them. Right, so this basically would take a place of an elective. So assuming that a child doesn't have any sort of, let's say, special education services like a resource room, or they don't have AIS like a math lab or a reading lab they might take, or this is the most like vanilla schedule I'm talking about, right? Is because you can't accommodate. I can't speak to all the scenarios, but the most vanilla schedule would be, we have 9 periods in a day, so you would take, a child would take English, social studies, and math. Science and PE take up 2 periods, so that gives you 5, I'm sorry, that's 5. Then you would take a world language, which is 6, a music or art, which is 7, a lunch, which is 8. So then this would be like the elective course. Other options for elective would potentially be, if you're taking a music, you want to take an art. If you're taking art for your New York State graduation credit, you might take like a business course and a culinary foundations course. So this would slide into that elective role, assuming there's no other variable factors that a child might require for the schedule. With that said, sometimes I get questions of, does my child have to take a lunch? We don't have a policy on students not having to, we don't have a policy saying kids must have lunch, but I'm telling you that they should have lunch, right? They're in 9th grade, they need a break. I really encourage every child in the building to have a lunch. And someone might say, you know, Dr. Zone, I don't really care what you say. And I say, okay, but that's just my recommendation, right? And whatever, right? We have those scenarios when they come up. Another question might be is, if my child is selected into the program, and how many spots do you have? Typically, we're around 24 is the number of spots we have slated. We do rank according to the slide that was previously shown, based on those scaled factors. But if my child is in the program, do they have to be in the program for all 4 years? The answer to that is no, right? Obviously, anyone that we have that's going into the program, right into freshman year, our hope is that they would be tied to the academy for all 4 years. Our retention has been amazing. Like we have like a very few through the 2 cohorts that have moved on to sophomore and junior years that have actually that removed themselves from the program. So our retention is like 85 to 90%, I would say, which is excellent. And but the answer is no, right? So if they decide to go in freshman year, try the research program out, do they have to stay? No, we're not going to throw handcuffs on them and say, hey, you have to stay. You promised that you'd be part of the program, right? With that said, there's no re-entry point, right? So if a child is in the program and they decide it's not for me, that's okay. We'll find another avenue for that child. However, there's no like re-entry coming back as a junior year. You have to stay tied for all 4 years, which also means like if you're not in the program to start off the high school career, there's no entry point into the high school research. With that said, if we just go back a couple slides to go to the leveled, the different grades. Okay, with that said, we have a research program for everybody. Okay, so if a child is not part of that 24, let's say, for the to be considered for the high school science research program, when they get to sophomore year, they could elect to participate in our AP capstone program. That is readily available, really, for anyone that wants to challenge themselves. It starts off with AP seminar, which feeds into research. The big difference, just so everyone, and I don't want to get into the nuts and bolts here, but at the end of the day, the big difference there in between going into AP research and college research, Ms. Clark does both. So she teaches AP research and college research. When the time comes, if a child decides not to go into the AP capstone research program, they just want to do, say, regular English 10, English 10R, they'll just feed into the college research route. If a child says, you know, I want to do science research and do the AP capstone route, which is fine, then they'll take AP seminar for their English class, and then they'll go into AP research with also Ms. Clark. We have students that are in our AP capstone program that are not part of the AP, the Wantagh High School Science Research Academy. They follow the same route. They go from AP seminar to AP research, but they go to AP research with a different teacher. Right, so they go to AP research with like one of our English and social studies teachers. Our high school science research academy kids will always be tied to Miss Clark. So that's the difference there. So we have research for everybody, but the science research, you know, we do limit the number of spots. Yes. Yeah. So there's. You want to speak to the AP research? Yeah.
For AP research, it's not an exam you sit for, but they do an experiment and they write a paper for it, and the paper that they submit at the end of not the end of the year, but you know, late April, that is the exam. No, that gets graded by College Board. Yeah. Yes. That's up to them. Yeah. 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 Yeah, I mean, you know, if you can find a way to do it scientifically, let's do it. So it gives them a lot of flexibility, and some kids show up and they're like, I'm going to study Alzheimer's disease, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like, let's research more about it. Let's make sure you're interested in it. Let's make sure, you know, this is really the way you want to go. And some of them are like, yep, full steam ahead. Some of them show up and say, I want to study Alzheimer's disease, and they read something and they're like, bees. I've been there. I've done projects on bees before. Sometimes they fall down a rabbit hole and you end up in a whole new area, and it's like, okay, we're studying bees now, or it's concrete. And then some kids show up and they have literally no idea what they want to do, but there's a lot of assignments that I have that are geared to kind of help them figure out the pathway that they want to follow. But if you can apply the scientific method to it or some sort of engineering design process, they can do it. It's both. So a lot of freshman year is predominantly, we start out very heavy on the group work because it's mostly skill building. And I have a lot of the choice there. They have no choice. So they get assigned, sometimes they choose their groups, sometimes they get assigned groups, and we switch it up very frequently the first and second quarter. And then third and fourth quarter of freshman year, we start to, individualize a little bit more. Once they're hitting sophomore year, they're really working predominantly independently, and then sometimes it's just based on the dynamics of the class, and do you know somebody in the class that is, studying the same thing as you? Do you know yet which pathway you're going, college research or AP research? Because AP research, you do have to do an independent project for the AP exam, because again, the project you do is the AP exam, so you work with somebody else, they call it cheating. So having these pieces of information, we can make decisions. We have a lot of flexibility in timelines, and it's really kind of dependent on who's there, what are they interested in, and who else is there too.
I have some more questions.
Wait, there's, yeah.
Yeah.
I would say, in my experience, most of my students have gone on to something science, predominantly I would say healthcare, a lot of my students. You know, I'm under no delusions that all of the kids in the science research program are gonna go off and be science researchers. So far to date, you know, in the entire 14 years of doing this, I know I have one student out of the hundreds probably that she went in to do actual, you know, neuroscience research. I think I might have a second one. I think she might be getting her PhD now. I'm not sure. But a lot of them go into healthcare related fields. Some of them go, you know, engineering is very common. But then I've had kids who are like, you know, one girl, she came back to visit me one time, her freshman year in college, and it looked like she was gonna cry, and I was like, Rachel, are you okay? And she's like, I changed my major. She's like, I'm a journalism major. I'm like, that's fine, like, that's totally cool. So yeah, you know, and business and law and all that kind of stuff. So no college is gonna turn around and be like, oh, you know a lot of science? Like, that's a problem. So we get all people. You had a question on today.
Yeah, I've just been doing this a while, so I know there are probably questions that people, when they leave, they're like, I wish I asked that question, right? So here's a question. What is the process of like signing up? Like, what does that look like? When do we pick it, right? So what's gonna happen, before Ms. Gill will send out some information. Ms. Clark's going to meet with she's going to meet with the students herself at the 8th grade level. So she'll be pushing in. She's probably going to bring, I think, the classes to the lab, we said? Some of the classes to the lab, right? Because we want the kids to get a feel also of what this program is. We want them to see the space, because the space is very exciting. So after that has been done, Ms. Gill, well, it's probably the end of January. You're going to send the general interest form out, I think it is.
That'll be after that I go see them in class. So I'm
Yeah.
probably going to go the second or third week in January. I'll see every 8th grade class at some point, so they'll have to listen to a shorter version of this.
Yeah. And what will happen is she'll send out the interest form, and for those of you who are interested, after having conversations with your child, Ms. Gill will schedule a date and time for the students to take the logic and reasoning test at the middle school. After they take that, we'll get the scores in, and we'll have the scores for everything else, and we'll put together kind of our list. But what's going to happen is, before that timeline, what will happen is your kids will have to pick classes to schedule, right? So they'll meet with a counselor and things like that. So what do they pick, right? So what they do is they basically build a schedule as if they're not in the research academy, right? Everyone builds a 9-period day. So if their elective they want to take culinary arts and child development, fine. They want to take DDP or engineering course as their elective, fine. We build a schedule that way. After we go through the data, we put together a list. We'll let the counselors know at the middle school who are like the top 24, and then at that point, they'll reach out and they'll say, hey, you've been selected for a spot. Do you want it or not? And then what will happen is that elective that was basically like a hold in place will be slotted out, and the science research program will be slotted in. So basically, we're just scheduling as if nobody's in it until someone gets in it, and then they have the option to just swap out their elective with the Science Research Academy course. Yes? No. Yeah, no. So this is the elective. So I shouldn't say that. I take it back, okay? So art and music is typically what a 9th grade child would also take. And I'm not considering that as an elective per se, because that's a graduation requirement. Every child has to have an art and music course to graduate. We highly recommend for every student to take those courses as a 9th grader, and then kind of knock it off the to-do list, so they can take other courses as they go through high school. But it could be that a child may say, I want the Science Research Academy course. I may want to take a different elective, maybe the engineering course also, and then I'll do my art or music credit the year after. That's okay. So there are options, but we highly recommend students not putting off the art and music credit to later on. Yep. Yes, every day for a year. So it's art or music. They need one or the two. Yeah, every day for the full year. Yes. Yes. Yes, so that's also a FAQ, right? It was on my list to ask if no one asked it. Is this science replacing the science that they're supposed to take? No, this is basically like an elective. So every child coming in is going to have to take either earth and space science or living environment on some level. Or biology, sorry. Earth and space science or biology, yes. So this is an addition on top. Question is this going to be too rigorous for my freshmen, right? Could we just talk about the rigor level maybe? Yeah.
Yeah, so everything, especially for freshman year, because they're adapting to high school, many of the students, I have a lot of overlap with the, what are we calling it now, bio-apes? The combination of the biology and AP environmental science course, I have a lot of overlap with those kids as well. So, and they're taking like 300 other AP classes. So I designed the freshman year program to be done during the school day. So they're doing work in class. It's not like they're gonna go home with nightly homework, like do this tonight. Could there be times where something, you know, we were wrapping up a project and it's like, well, it's due tomorrow. Have we finished all the things? And most of them finish it and maybe somebody needs to go home and touch it up a little bit at night. So it's situations more like that, you know, especially when we're dealing with the external competitions. I have no control over those deadlines. If the whole class is like, we need more time, and then I push the deadline back. But if it's the Toshiba Explorer Vision and they say it's due February 3rd, then it's due February 3rd. So if the group isn't happy with where the, you know, the paper is at that point, then you might be burning the midnight oil that night. But predominantly I know, again, what I'm competing with, you know, for their time during the freshman year. As time goes on, you know, we turn up the heat a little bit more as they kind of acclimate and they build the skills, and it's also what seemed harder to them as freshmen are not going to be as hard to them as sophomores, and it's the same thing for juniors and as they progress through it. So freshman year is really designed like they're not going home and doing a ton of stuff for science research at home. Yeah.
Is there anything that that runs the same period as this class that excludes them from taking another class?
I have no knowledge of that.
Yeah, so we build a schedule from scratch every year. So it's not like we have a schedule that every year we just kind of use. So I can't answer that question because we build schedules around the students. So our goal is after we get all the requests in, what will happen is we'll build to maximize. Our goal is to try to get every single kid as every class that they sign up for. It doesn't happen that way at the high school, but that's always our goal. So when we build a schedule, we try to avoid classes overlapping. So like for the most part, I don't want to guarantee anything, but like we're gonna look to not probably schedule like band and the ninth grade research class because we know it's highly likely there's gonna be an overlap. What we'll do is we look at co-occurrences, like we look at like how many kids requested this course and this course, and if it's a high number, we'll make a point to try to not schedule at the same time. If there's like maybe one child and there's 30 kids, then based on the numbers, then we might schedule it at that point. So we basically look at the co-occurrences, and it changes every year. But if it's a high yield, then the high probability that we won't have those two classes scheduled at the same time. Two, so there'll be two sections, like 12 each. Yeah, you had a question, yeah.
Yeah, just the trajectory. So you're looking at the pre-AP world. You're looking at bio-apes, some sort of geometry.
Yeah, R or H, yeah.
What's English?
Just English is 9H. Yeah, English 9H. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, so shortly what will happen is probably next week at some point I'll send an email to all of you, everyone in the grade and anyone coming back actually for next year. What I'll do is I'll send out our course catalog, and in our course catalog I actually kind of I make it easy for you. You'll see like a ninth grade tab. So you'll be able to click on the tab for ninth grade, and that will bring you to basically like a list of all the ninth grade courses that are just for ninth graders. Or maybe not just for ninth graders, I'll say ninth grader eligible, right? So when you get it, you'll click on it, boom, it'll bring you to the table of contents with all the ninth grade courses, and then you can click on the course, it'll bring you right there. So if you give me like maybe a week from today or like, next Friday, you'll probably get it. And we encourage you to go through that course catalog, because shortly after that, when we get back from break, the kids will start meeting with counselors to start talking about the schedule for next year. So you'll get that list. Yeah, that will come out. Yep. Yes, so they need either, so the choices would be, for music, it would be band, chorus, or orchestra. For art, it would be studio in art, like a drawing one, I think, a graphic media course, student art and graphic media, and then we also have a engineering, drafting, and design class that counts as art credit also. So a child potentially could take like an engineering course as their art credit, as well as this if they're really like science driven and mathematically driven and interested into those fields. And that's really an impressive transcript for a ninth grader, you know, I'm just saying. Any other questions? Yes. Yeah, it would be if you want if so it would a child in the academy could say I don't want to I want to take, let's say I want to take research with this teacher for some reason. That's fine, but then they're not tied. Well, I shouldn't say that either. This, like, we built this program purposely for options, right? We wanted there to be flexibility for our students. So let's just say in this scenario, a child is in AP Capstone and they want to take more of a humanity-based approach towards AP research. They could do that, but then they would have to take the college research, right? They could, in theory. In theory, they could, right? In theory, they could. In theory, they could put it in the schedule. They could take AP research with a more humanities-based lens, and then take the science research that's at the college research that is every other day, and it could fit with health or something like that. So there'd be two researchers at the same time, but it's an option, you know. It would fit. Yeah. It would fit. I've done the numbers. Any other questions? Yeah. Yeah. So I don't want to get too heavily into that right now, only because that's really not for another 2 years, and we have a whole nother session on that actually also. So when we do our curriculum night, it's going to be for ninth graders going into 10th grade. We have literally a half-hour session that's committed to informing parents who are currently in ninth grade about the AP Capstone program. But basically, it counts as an English credit. So it is a lot of work because they have to cover both in the 10th grade year. They have to cover both the English curriculum as well as hit on the standards within the AP curriculum. There are other schools that do them separate, where they take the English course and they could take AP seminar together, but we combine them. So there is a lot of work in it. It looks at a lot of research. It helps them teach them about biases. They write papers. They go through a process almost like they're writing a mini dissertation by the time they get to AP research. I don't want to overwhelm people with all that right now, to be honest. There'll be another session, and if you want to know more, I think when I send out the information for curriculum night, if you want to be ahead of it, you could come if you want to the AP Capstone presentation, which is also live streamed, so you'll be able to see that from home also if you wanted to. That presentation, you're ahead if you want. Okay, yeah. Presentation will be available online on the district YouTube channel right as soon as this closes. We'll send it out also in January with the link for more if you're interested in signing up. But again, if you have any questions, we're also around, so you can feel free to email Ms. Clark, myself, or Ms. Gill. All right?
As for the next step, because then you're probably wondering, you know, am I going to see that? It's a student interest survey, but I'll make sure I send it to parents and students. Okay, so everybody will see it so that you're not wondering where it is. Did my kid look at it? Did they receive it? So keep your eyes peeled for that in January. I'll send it both to students and parents. Okay?
All right. Thank you.